Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Soil Conservation Part 1. In this session, we are going to study about soil conservation. So there will be an introduction on what is soil conservation, what is meant by soil conservation. There will be understanding that what is soil conservation in another heading, and there will be types of soil conservation. So this we are all going to cover up in this particular session. So let us start. What is soil conservation? Soil conservation is a process of preventing the degradation of the topmost layer of soil. Topmost layer of soil. Why we are conserving this? Because if we see the profile of soil, right, like this, so we are having top layer, and the top layer is having lot of nutrients that are required for the growth of our crop plants, that is for agricultural crop plant. So suppose this is the top layer of the soil, right? This is the subsoil, topsoil, subsoil, right? So all the nutrients are present in this top layer, and there is also present of manure in the form of humus at the above layer, that is the top layer, right? So it is very important to conserve this particular layer. So, the soil conservation is a process of preventing the degradation of the topmost layer of soil by erosion. This is the great loss to the soil, right? The above layer of the soil is washed away by a lot of agencies like water, wind. Okay, so this we have to stop soil erosion, and also preventing the reduction in the fertility due to the acidification or soil pollution. So we have to take care that our soil fertility should not be degraded. And how it is degraded? Once the soil become acidified, then we can say that the quality of the soil is not up to the mark, or even some soil pollution are also there, right? So these are the things that we have to stop to protect our topmost layer of the soil, that is very fertile and very important for the growth of our crop plants. So what we have to stop? First thing, erosion of the soil. Second thing, acidification of the soil. And the third thing, that is the soil pollution. Okay, if we add some unwanted material that can reduce the fertility of the soil, then that is called as soil pollution. Okay, so soils are the critical component of the earth and its varied ecosystem, and play a crucial role in supporting the life on the earth. So if we see what is the crucial role of soil that support in the life on the earth, present on the earth, so whether it is an animal, whether it is a human, or any type of animal, right? So we get all our nutrient from the soil, because the plants are there, right? And plants absorb all the nutrients from the soil. Plants grow and provide food to everyone. So the animal that eat plants, that is eaten by the carnivores animals. So in this way also the food is transported from one trophic level to the another. So if we understand in this way, then also we can see that every trophic level is getting the nutrient that has been absorbed from the soil. The soil are the critical component of the earth. That is why it is said critical component of the earth and its varied ecosystem. Okay, it is vary from ecosystem to ecosystem. We are having different landforms, that is in the form of mountain, in the hills, in the plains, in the plateau form, right? So everywhere there is a different types of soil. Okay, and the different types of soil means different ecosystem, and that play a crucial role in the supporting life on the earth. Okay, so very important. It is formed from the confluence of time, topography, climate, and organism. So soil is formed. How it is formed? It is formed by the confluence of time, means a lot of time it takes to form in the soil. And how the soil are formed? Soil are formed by the weathering of rocks. Okay, and it depends upon the topography. climate, and organism. So this soil conservation is very important, right? Due to the overexploitation and unsustainable development methods, humanity is witnessing soil erosion rapidly. So, we are not taking care of our soil, we are not concerned about our forest, about our plants, about our animals that are dependent directly or indirectly on the plants, and the plants are directly dependent upon the soil. So we are just over exploiting our soil by having crop this year, again same crop that year. We are not applying any strategy or sustainable method to conserve our crop, to conserve our forest, to conserve our animals, right? So these are all integrated method. Okay, this is not just to conserve the soil. We are not talking just to conserve the soil. If you are conserving the soil, then you are conserving the crops also, you are conserving the forest also, and if you are conserving the forest, then you are conserving the animals also, right? So due to the over exploitation, excessive use of soil, or we are not uh, following the sustainable development methods, right? Then we are very selfish, and in that way humanity is witnessing soil erosion rapidly. In the light of these, we must keep all the differences aside and work harmoniously to conserve the soil. So, we must conserve the soil. If we are concerned about our biodiversity, if we are concerned about our earth, our ecosystem, so first thing that we have to conserve our soil. So, in this session, we are going to study about the comprehensive overview of the soil conservation. So, in this session, we are basically going to study about what is soil conservation and how we can do actually. Okay, so what is mean by soil conservation? As the name suggests, soil conservation is a set of strategies to be adopted for stopping the erosion of the topmost soil layer or preventing the soil from losing its fertility caused due to the soil pollution, right? So we are going to apply some strategies, okay, in our life that is going to stop the erosion of the soil, that is topmost layer of the soil, right? And also we, in that way we are preventing the soil from losing its fertility. So if the soil is maintaining its fertility with the efforts of a human, right, then we will have a good production of our agriculture. Okay, so we must stop the soil erosion and we must stop soil pollution as well. In simple word, soil conservation aim to undo or at least mitigate the impact of soil pollution, right? If we are simply following the soil conservation, right, then we are going to least mitigate the impact of soil pollution. There will be the less or minimized effect of soil pollution on our soil. So, soil are formed by the extensive weathering of the regoliths by various chemical, physical, biological process over the millions of years. So, we have already discussed how the soil are formed. So, this is a very extensive weathering method in which regoliths means the stones that are broken down from the big rock material, regoliths, then it is get converted to small pebbles along with the soil particles, and later this again that converted to particles of soil, fine particle, and then it is called as soil. But this is not just happen in we can say a month or a year. It take a longer duration of time, right? So we must protect in that way also. If we think, then we must protect our soil, right? So this weathering process that happens, the effect of chemicals that occur due to the effect of physical process and also the biological process. Means some microorganism, worms, animals, right, even the plants are involved for the weathering process. Okay, so how we can say that plants get involved? So suppose you must have seen that sometime in the crevices of the rock some plants grow like this. Some plants grow and they're having the roots. Now the roots, it's penetrating deep into the rock, and due to the pressure the rocks cracks. Hmm? Physical process, crevices are there, water get filled inside it. When there is a rain, water get filled inside it, and at lower temperatures this water freezes. And the you all know that when water get freezes, it increases its volume. So there is a pressure on this rock, and sometimes rocks get break down. Okay, so sometimes there are lichens that grow on the bare rock surface, and that is why it is called as a pioneer plant that grow on the rock surface, right? So lichens sometimes grow, and the lichens release some chemicals, and that chemical corrode the upper surface of the soil. So in that way we can see this lichen is also helping to form soil particles. Hmm? Physical process. Now physical, sometimes there is a lot of heat, and again at the another time there is a cooling of the rock, right? So this fluctuation of temperature sometimes causes this big rocks to break into pieces. Okay, so now we can understand how this chemical, physical and biological processes are acting together in the weathering of regoliths. Okay, so it contain minerals, organic matter, at some plants and animals died in the formation of this at the time of formation of this weathering of rock, right? So air and water are also responsible in the same way. Organic matter is the decaying plant remains that decomposes by the activities of the microorganisms in the soil. So sometimes the plants and animals, their debris are there, their dead bodies are there, okay? The branches of the plants are there, leaves are there. So that also become the part of the soil because they get decay in the soil due to the effect of other microorganisms which are present in the soil. So these microorganisms help to decompose the remains of the plant, the remains of the animals, and that also become the part of the soil, and that also enhances the fertility of the soil. So now you can understand how important and how much time it takes the soil to form, and how much activity is naturally occurring, that is the chemical, physical and biological process acting together to form this soil. So it is very important to conserve soil. Conservation of soil is important because the topmost layer of the soil has been formed over 10,000 of years. Now you can understand how much time it takes to form the soil. If it start from the rock, bare rock, even an inch of the soil take more than 1,000 years to develop. Therefore, keeping in mind the scarce nature of the soil, it becomes imperative that we do our bit and prevent the loss of soil due to the erosion. Not only this, we must not follow any activity that is going to harm our soil, right? Because the soil is a home for so many microorganisms. It is supporting the biodiversity. Not only it is it, as you all know that the plants grow, agriculture required the soil, and also the fertile soil in fact, and that is a home for so many microorganisms, so it is supporting so many biodiversity. And if there is a biodiversity loss, then there will be direct or indirect effect on our life. So to have maintenance of this ecosystem, we must not follow any such activity that is going to degrade our soil quality. And in fact, we must protect by stopping the soil erosion, by stopping polluting our soil. Okay. Moreover, the soils are the basic existence of life. They support plants, are habitat for several insects and animals, and allow percolation of water to maintain the groundwater level. So this is also helping to maintain the groundwater level, because when there is a lot of rain, so the water seeps down, and this soil work as a filter. So all the particles of the soil, okay, that get retained in the upper layer of the soil, and only drop by drop water reaches to this groundwater level. Okay, so this is also one of the very important aspects of the soil. Now that you know that meaning of the soil conservation, till here we can understand what is why we are studying this soil conservation. Let's shift our focus to some of the important methods and ways of conserving soil, right? So now we all know that why the soil is so important. Okay, so let us understand how to protect or how to conserve the soil. So there are different methods, so let us focus on that. Okay, so types of soil conservation methods. So first type is the salinity management. Unscientific irrigation method can exponentially increase the salinity level of the soil. Salinity means increase the salt concentration in the soil, and with that the soil fertility of the soil goes down, and the crop plants will not flourish in that soil, right? So how it happened? If we are using irrigation unscientific way, that is exponentially increases the salinity level of the soil. Okay, so the excessive use of fertilizer can also lead to the salination of the soil. We are so selfish that every time we just use the fertilizer crop to crop. But what will be the effect of these fertilizer after 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years? The soil becomes so saline that it will not going to support for growth of any type of crops. Okay, so we must use fertilizer, but judicially. We must follow the sustainable way of using the fertilizer. In fact, we can use manure, less use of fertilizer and more use of manure. And sometimes we can totally uh, use only manure for enhancing the fertility of the soil. So this happened because salt remain in the soil even though water evaporates under the sunlight. So when there is a lot of sunlight, the water which is having dissolved salt in it, dissolved fertilizers in it, water evaporates, and what is left? The salt, right? So, the salt in the soil shoot past permissible levels, and which can lead to the desertification by destroying the soil structure. So, when this salt increases in many folds, so it destroy the soil structure, and sometime it forms the desert, right? So overuse of irrigation will accelerate the deposition of salt on the soil surface due to the soil infiltration. As a solution to the salination, we can manage the salinity level of the soil and keep it within the permissible limit, right? So we can keep this salination at a one limit, right? So humic acid are quite helpful in preventing the salination, especially in the case of excessive irrigation. So if we are having humic acid means that is present in the humus, right? So excessive irrigation, if we are having excessive irrigation, then we must think that our soil must contain this acid in the soil. The humic acid manages the anions and cations, eventually removing from the root area. So whatever the salt that can be excessive salt that can be removed from this with the help of this humic acid, and the salinity level can go down. It will lower the water table and also reduce the process of evaporative accumulation of surface salt. So in this way, water water table get lower, and also reduces the process of evaporative accumulation of surface salts. So we can also plant some species that withstand salty conditions. So there are, nowadays we are having so many uh, developed species that can grow in a high salinity soil. So if we are having a high salinity soil, then we can grow that particular crop that can withstand in that environmental condition, high salinity environmental condition, and that crop can give you the good amount of yield, right? So these things that we can adopt. Afforestation. Next type is the afforestation. Next method. It is the easiest and the simple method of soil conservation. Afforestation, or the planting more trees in an age-old and effective way of controlling the soil erosion. So, afforestation means you have to plant more trees, and the area which is quite open, there are no trees, so you have to plant more trees, and that is called as afforestation, right? So it is an age old and effective way. So this is quite an that practice that has been followed from a long time, right? But this is, believe me, this is the most effective way of controlling the soil erosion. Because if we are having lot of plants, lot of vegetation at the top level of the soil, it will hold the soil particle tightly and do not allow the soil particles to get eroded either with the help of a wind or water splashes. The root of the plants and trees bind the soil to the ground firmly, and it does not allow erosion by the runoff agents like wind and water. Okay, so this roots of the plants and the trees bind the soil, hold the soil particle tightly, firmly, and do not allow erosion by runoff agents like wind and water. So it has been seen that areas having high densities of trees experiences less erosion as compared to the regions having less tree density. Very obvious. If we are having a region that is having lot of vegetation, lot of trees, then you can see that there is a less or no soil erosion. If you compare to the region that is having open land, so there you will see that there is a lot of erosion. So why do these have these lands open? We can plant some trees. Okay, so some trees offer bigger protection to the soil as they can withstand even strong winds and flood. They can bear this strong winds and even the flood and hold our soil tightly to stop erosion. On the other hand, some species provide moderate protection. Even the draft forest policy, according to 2018, emphasized having forest cover over 33% of India's geographical area. So, if we follow this, the draft forest policy 2018, it means that whatever the land of India we are having, of its 33% must be a forest. But unfortunately we are having around 19%, right? So now you can think that how much land of our country must be covered with the lush green forest, right? So it is our prime responsibility to follow this method, afforestation, best way to conserve the soil. Checking overgrazing. Overgrazing means the cattle, the livestock, okay, graze our top layer of the vegetation. So overgrazing is an unsustainable activity employed by the farmers in which a very high number of cattle graze regularly on a small piece of land. Conversion of an area into pasture land and the subsequent grazing loosen the soil grip and exposes the topsoil runoff agents like wind, rain, and water. So conservation of an area into pasture land and the subsequent grazing loosen the soil grip. So when the our livestock are eating the pasture land, they take out the plants, grasses, and the soil grip become loosen. It loosen the soil. Okay, so again the topsoil is exposed, and when there is a runoff agents like wind, rain, and water, it take away the topmost layer of the soil. So that is why checking overgrazing becomes very, very important. The rate of plant growth is not commensurate with the grazing, and the land ends up exposed and causes serious erosion. In order to combat the menace of overgrazing, there should be a strict vigil and monitoring of the grassland and forest. So there must be overgrazing. This grazing must be in a limited way, so that because the plant do not grow in such a speed way that it get overgrazed, right? So we must maintain the pace, how much the growth of the plant, and according to that there must be a grazing, there must not be overgrazing, right? So we can monitor that. The rate of plant growth is not commensurate with the farmers should not be allowed to graze their cattle in areas where the soil is exposed, right? There should be rationing of grazing activity in the proper year marked ground. So we can select that this particular year we can have a grazing of the cattle in this particular land, this second season to the another land. So this first reason of the land will have a sufficient time to grow the new crop or the new grasses or the new pasture. So in this way we can maintain the overgrazing, we can monitor the overgrazing. Use of natural fertilizer. So chemical fertilizer contain high level of salt and the chemical that pose a risk of acidification and also the desertification of land. So therefore we can use natural fertilizer for farming instead of the chemical fertilizers. We all know that chemical fertilizer is having a lot of salt in it, and chemical that poses risks of acidification and desertification of the land. So why to use these chemical fertilizer? We can use natural fertilizer for farming instead of chemical fertilizer. So in this way we can conserve our soil. It has been found that not only the natural fertilizers are less polluting, but they enhance the productivity of crops greater than their chemical counterpart. So, see this natural fertilizer is not only less polluting the soil, they are adding the productivity of crop to the greater extent, right? And they also increases the water holding capacity of the soil. It replenishes the soil with the critical nutrients like phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen. So, this is all about this session. We will have one more session to complete this particular topic. Till then, thank you very much.